You boys be quiet down there!
Welcome back to Neo Geo Generation, the series where we're reviewing every Neo Geo game in order by catalog number. This time we'll be looking at what is widely considered one of the worst games for the Neo Geo, NGH-029, Legend of Success Joe, aka Ashita no Joe Densetsu, 1991 from Wave. We'll be looking at the game on my MVS cartridge here. Someone has written Legend of Joe in black permanent marker on my cart. It's kinda hard to see that. What confluence of evil forces aligned to bring this heaping pile into existence? Let's look into the background of this game and where it came from. Ashita no Joe, or Tomorrow's Joe, was a manga series that ran in Weekly Shonen magazine from 1968 to 1973. It follows young drifter Joe Yabuki's rise to become a professional bantamweight boxer, along with his coach Danpei Tange. Joe basically starts out as a young, arrogant jerk, but we see him become more disciplined as he grows as a boxer. The manga was written by Asao Takamori and illustrated by Tetsuya Chiba, both of whom are very prolific and respected authors. In 1970, Ashita no Joe was adapted into an anime, directed by Osamu Dezaki. Dezaki is a very well-known animator and director, and has worked on Astro Boy, Lupin III, Space Cobra, Blackjack, and Golgo 13, to name just a few. And in case you're not a fan of Japanese animation, there's still a good chance you've seen Dezaki's work. He was the animation director of a classic holiday special that's still broadcast every year on TV. Dezaki worked in Osamu Tezuka's Mushi production, which did the animation for the American Frosty the Snowman special.
Run, you fools! Run for your lives!
The Ashita no Joe anime split the plot of the original manga into two series. The first ran from 1970 to 1971, and the second from 1980 to 1981. Each of the two series was then later edited down into a theatrical movie. Live-action films based on Ashita no Joe were released in 1970 and 2011. In 2018, a new anime series, a futuristic reimagining of Ashita no Joe, was released, titled Megalobox. Ashita no Joe was very popular and is considered to be very influential in the world of anime and manga. Based on the popularity of the franchise alone, perhaps it's no surprise that Game Machine listed the Neo Geo game as Japan's 10th most successful arcade game of the year in their August 15, 1991 issue. Shinichi Morioka, one of the creators of Kyo Kusanagi, cited Ashita no Joe among the influences for the creation of the character. The Neo Geo game follows parts of the plot of the manga and anime series. In the game, you fight as Joe Yabuki against his most memorable rivals from the series. Based on such a popular and well-known IP, what could go wrong, right? Well, games based on anime are not exactly known for their quality. By the time the Neo Geo game was released in 1991, perhaps Ashita no Joe was no longer the hottest property, and for whatever reason, game development duties for this game were given to Wave Corporation. So who are Wave anyway? The Neo Geo game is actually not their first video game based on Ashita no Joe. Before the Neo Geo game, Wave made the 1990 Ashita no Joe arcade game published by Taito, a behind-view boxing game that takes many of its cues from Nintendo's Punch-Out! Wave is only known to have developed a few Ashita no Joe games and a couple of other games. The programmers and artists credited in the Neo Geo game are not from SNK and are not known to have worked on almost anything else.
Captain, I'm really sorry. It's Joe Yabuki. He escaped, sir.
Yabuki did this?
The Neo Geo game was not released outside of Japan, but it does fortunately have an English mode when played on American or European systems. And for some reason, they've come up with the awkward English title, Legend of Success Joe. The English title is even included on the back of the Japanese box for the game. The legend part comes from the word Densetsu in the title, but the success part is bizarrely unique to the English title. Why they needed to awkwardly add the word success in there is anyone's guess, but maybe it's because the game covers Joe's history as a successful bantamweight boxer? The Densetsu or legend part could also be referring to the fact that the story in the game is a bit different from the anime and manga. In the game, Joe wins some matches which he loses in the original series. Note that if you play the game in English AES mode, all the blood in the game will be white. If you want to play the game uncensored, you will need to play it in Japanese mode, or the English MVS mode. Note, however, that the game defaults to off for the blood setting when playing on an English MVS machine, so you'll have to set this option to be on if you want the red blood to display. And yes, you don't want the game to be censored, so make sure to turn this setting on. Okay, so let's dive into this Neo Geo game. One nice thing about the game is that it has a complete story told with text between the scenes. The English mode is surprisingly mistake-free. Stage 1 takes place at the Boys Reformatory. This is the beginning of the series, before Joe has been trained as a boxer, and he is jockeying for his standing among the other boys in juvie.
Hey, that's my dinner box! Give me my dinner box!
Alright, so here we go with this thing. Wow, okay, that was easy. The animation's a little janky looking. Oh my god, what the hell is going on? The controls are so stiff. The old man who appears at the end of each stage is Joe's trainer, Danpei Tange, though his character design is different from in the anime. The first stage boss is a match against Shohei Inagaki, a character from episode 30 of the anime. Joe is taking an entrance exam after high school, spars with Inagaki, and nearly kills him. It makes sense to make a character who Joe beat the hell out of the easiest boss in the game. Alright, well, bring it on, dirtbag. Well, that's not fair. I'm already missing some life from the first stage. Ow, that was a dirty move. Well, I'm dead. So I think the trick here is you have to dodge and then punch. The game is broken into the main stage sections, which resemble a typical belt-scrolling beat-em-up, but are actually extremely short and are populated with only a handful of cheap enemies that like to block your attacks, followed by a boss, which always takes place in the boxing ring. It is cool that Joe wears his street clothes for the main stages and then sports a different look for the boss sections. These ending matches are all about finding the right strategy, and if you find them too difficult, there's always the option of looking up the best methods of dispatching your opponents online these days if you're so inclined. So let's see what can be done to improve our chances of properly playing this. If you go into this game without studying the opening tutorial first,
you're gonna have a bad time.
The controls consist of several moves, blocks, and a dodge that can all be done using combinations of the A and B buttons with directions. For example, you can dodge with back and B, and most of the stronger punches are done with A and B together, along with a direction.
Study hard, Joe. You have it within your ability and power to become a future boxing champion of Japan.
Is this a good control scheme? It can work with some practice, and the stiff-feeling controls are responsive enough, but the lack of buttons can make learning the moves a frustrating chore. Stage 2 looks like it's maybe in Tange's gym. Wow, this guy's blocking everything. So you're just gonna wuss out and run away then? These guys are taking a lot more hits now. Hey, whoa, 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 stop dodging everything. And the boss of this stage is Rikishi. This guy and Joe go a long way back and have a friendly rivalry. Rikishi actually reduces his weight class from featherweight to bantamweight just so he can fight Joe.
I thought he lost weight in order to fight in my class.
Some well-timed sways and counterpunches will take him out, though already the game's reliance on knowing the correct pattern and abusing it in order to proceed is becoming annoying. Apparently Joe beats Rikishi so badly that he dies. Yep, this actually does happen in the anime and manga series. Joe feels so bad about accidentally killing his longtime rival and friend that he goes on a rampage in the streets. So am I hitting the guy with the hat or not? These guys are all sharing a life bar. This is a funny cat drawn on the ground here. It looks similar to the manga character Nyarome. So this guy's main move is to just jump up and kick with both legs then? That's what we're going with? The boss of Stage 3 is Tiger Ozaki. We've gotten to the events of the second anime series here, as the first series ends with the match against Rikishi. Once again, the strategy is to sway and counter, but you have to be really patient. It takes a while to chip away at his life bar. In the anime and manga, Joe actually loses to Ozaki, So when you win this match, you've actually succeeded at something where Joe failed in the series. Hence my theory about how the word success found its way into the title of the game. In Stage 4, there's somewhat of a mini-boss in the stage section, Carlos Rivera from Venezuela. Perhaps in order to accommodate more characters without adding more stages, in the game Joe decides to settle out of the ring with the Venezuelan boxer, unlike in the series where they have an actual match and fight to a draw. What? Stop doing that! The Stage 4 boss is Rikishi, known as the code computer for his cold, calculating ways. If you guess that the technique to win involves dodging and blocking, then you're catching on. The timing is getting tougher at this point, and if you give him a chance, he will give Joe a pummeling. Joe actually does triumph over Keen in the series, so the game matches the anime and manga plot here.
That's the end of that, dude. Way to go.
Stage 5 is the final stage? What? Already? This one takes place in an airport, and once again we get a mini-boss battle against a character from the series, Harimau. What in the... This animation doesn't even look right. How is he getting into this position? The final boss of the game is Jose Mendoza, although the way they spell his name always makes it look like it's Jose Mendoza. Jose is the main antagonist in the second series of the anime, so it makes sense for him to be the final boss. After you knock him down once, that's when things start to get crazy, and you don't want to let him get a piece of you. So in winning the game, you've once again spat in the face of the series plotline, with Joe prevailing where he did not in the anime and manga. There, Joe doesn't end Mendoza's winning streak, but does give him a run for his money, permanently injuring Mendoza. So that's Legend of Success Joe. It's possible to finish the game in under 15 minutes, so it's a short one. After learning the right techniques to finish the game, does it become enjoyable? Well, it does get a bit better, but it's still pretty damn bad. The mood of the graphics and music make the whole game feel shoddy, and trying to figure out which of the stiff-feeling moves is needed to defeat your opponents isn't exactly fun. How do these people sleep at night? The music in Legend of Success Joe is reminiscent of the worst of the Sega Mega Drive, and is not up to Neo Geo standards. It's made up of beepy FM instruments with poor quality percussion samples. Not only does it sound annoying, there are moments of dissonance where the notes don't even seem to be right. Music is very important for setting the impression of a game, and the soundtrack here suits the game perfectly, because it reeks of poor craftsmanship.
Thanks, you're probably not a big fight fan seeing that you're seated all the way back here in the nosebleed section.
No, I'm just a tightwad. I follow all the fights, so I need to say.
Well, if you're a Neo Geo CD fan, I've got some bad, or perhaps good news for you, depending on how you look at it.
Excuse me, Neo Alec? What's the deal? That's 5 episodes in a row now with no Neo Geo CD coverage. Clearly, this show has some anti-Neo Geo CD bias.
Hey, Jenovi, well, I was just...
Just kidding, man. Legend of Success Joe? No one wants that pile of crap on their Neo Geo CD. This system, it's better than that. Props to you for doing this one, and good luck with the series.
Thanks, Jenovi. Bye. Yeah, as Jenovi was saying, I've been covering a stretch of either completely unreleased games or games based on existing properties. Since Legend of Success Joe is based on an existing IP, re-releasing the game on CD would have likely involved renegotiating the license. By the time the Neo Geo CD was out in 1994, it probably wasn't worth the trouble. Considering the quality of the game, it's really not a huge loss for Neo Geo CD fans.
Your victories will be our victories!
After the Neo Geo game, Wave wasn't done disappointing Ashita no Joe fans. In 1992, they released the Ashita no Joe game for Super Famicom. This one's just a side-view boxing game. There's no gameplay outside of the ring here. Similar to the Neo Geo game, the gameplay amounts to timing your dodges and blocks, but with a smaller moveset. Again, the game only uses 2 buttons. The strategy seems to be further dumbed down to mostly spamming punches and blocking at the right time here. The soundtrack might be even worse in this version. At least the Super Famicom game has a proper 2-player mode. After the Super Famicom game, there weren't any further Ashita no Joe games until 2001, when Konami released the arcade game Boxing Mania, Ashita no Joe. The game is all about timing and reacting by hitting the right parts on the machine, which also includes gloves for your hands. 3 PlayStation 2 games were released. There's an Ashita no Joe typing game from Sunsoft released in 2001, which comes with its own keyboard. Joe Anime Super Remix Ashita no Joe 2 from Capcom in 2002, which is just a digital album with clips and images. And Ashita no Joe Mashiro ni Moe Tsukiro from Konami in 2003, the one for PS2 that's actually a boxing game. Finally, Konami also released Ashita no Joe Makka ni Moe Agare for Game Boy Advance on the same day as their PS2 game.
Move it, Dun Collectors! You not only look the part, but you also smell the part!
The Japanese have a word for games like this one, kusoge, or shit game. Make no mistake, Legend of Success Joe for Neo Geo is pure, uncut, unadulterated kusoge of the highest order. The cumbersome, clunky controls are deeply unsatisfying and annoying. Aside from the large characters, the graphics and animation are far below Neo Geo standards, even for 1991. The game is super short. Although the length can seem artificially padded by unreasonable difficulty at first, after figuring out the right moves for dispensing opponents, the game is just short. It's all the more disappointing when you consider that with a little more work, it's not hard to imagine a much better game. Take the beat-em-up scrolling sections, make them 2-player, add more enemies, make it easier to land hits, and the boxing ring parts could just be brief boss fights at the end of the stages. Perhaps the change requiring the most effort would be making the enemy AI actually able to move freely around the screen and properly engage you, rather than just following you around and spamming blocks and punches. If those changes had been made, making the game more fun, it would be easier to forgive the poor animation and music. As it stands, Legend of Success Joe is a very worthy contender for the worst Neo Geo game of all time.
That would be like releasing Maximum Carnage on this.
Okay, so Legend of Success Joe was a bust, but I hope you enjoyed the video all the same. Things will be looking up a bit as we move forward in the series. Next time we'll be looking at NGH-030, 2020 Super Baseball from Palace. I'm looking forward to bringing you this one, so please subscribe and leave this video a like. I want to give a special thanks to Jenovi for appearing in this video, and I invite you to go watch his very interesting YouTube channel, linked below. Hope to see you back here soon on Neo Geo Generation. This is Neo Alec, signing off.